Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with wonderfully inspiring people like Miss Christina here on topics that help our listeners, that's you, find the resources, tools, and support they need to be their best inspired selves. Morning, Christina.
Morning. How are you?
I'm lovely because even though I live in Wisconsin, it is sunny today, and I get to see the sunshine, which makes me feel like a human being, which is good.
Yeah, is the sky blue?
It's like, and it's clear,
Nice.
super clear. There's like no clouds, which is interesting. Yes, it is pretty perfect. Absolutely. So Christina, would you mind just telling the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Christina Flach. I am the CEO and founder of Pretty Girl Makeup. I am a celebrity makeup artist, and I was married to Ken Flach, who was the #1 doubles player in the world in the 80s and 90s. He won gold medal in Seoul, multiple Wimbledons, US Open. He was on the Davis Cup team with his partner, Rob Seguso. They were #1 in the world, as I mentioned. And Ken and I were married for 8 years before he passed away 2 years ago. Actually, yesterday was the anniversary of his passing. He got bronchitis, which turned into pneumonia. We called Kaiser Permanente, who was our medical insurance at the time. Their protocol is you need to call an advice nurse, and then they determine whether they bring you in or the doctor calls or what happens. So Ken had been, he'd had an ear infection, and he'd been on prednisone, and so his immune system was compromised, which they were aware of when he was ill. And both of us, I was on the phone with him at the time, and we said, I've never seen my husband so sick. And he said, yeah, I've got green coming, yellow out of nose, throat, everything. It was really pretty yucky. And they said, oh, wow, okay, well, we'll get a doctor on the phone. So his doctor was Dr. John Culbertson, who got on the phone a couple hours later and prescribed cough medicine with codeine and an inhaler, but no antibiotic. So he clearly had infection all over. And the doctor chose not to give him an antibiotic or to see him. And how you prescribe that sort of thing over the phone is still beyond me. But the dangerous thing that, my problem is that, like, I want there to be change in the medical system, obviously, because I think everyone should be seen, especially if they're saying to you, I have glass in my chest and infection, and they don't prescribe an antibiotic. So the problem with a cough medicine with codeine that most people aren't aware of, most people think, oh, I'm going to get cough medicine with codeine, it's going to be great, I'm going to sleep, my cold will get better. It's actually the opposite. The cough medicine with codeine suppresses your breathing. So if there's an infection, you're not breathing, like to clear your lungs, it's growing the infection in your lungs. So literally in 12 hours, bronchitis turned into pneumonia. He started spitting up blood in the morning, so I rushed him to the emergency. He walked in, spitting up more blood. They brought him in, put him on 3 different oxygens to try and stabilize his breathing, which they couldn't do. They tested him for sepsis, which he came up positive, and they waited over 3.5 hours to give him an antibiotic. Well, that was the end of it. There's a golden hour, and I don't, depending on how far along you are, that, you can obviously be saved of sepsis if you're on the right antibiotic. But unfortunately, Ken wasn't seen by Kaiser or Dr. Culbertson.
Apologies.
And, his infection spread to the point of no return. So when the doctor called me out of the room a few minutes later, he said, I think he could die. And I'm like, no, you better get in there and fix him, like, now. And I wasn't aware that they hadn't given him the antibiotic, or they didn't have it in stock. I found out after the fact. If I had known, I would have thrown him in the car and taken him somewhere that did have the antibiotic. So they also told me that they were going to put Ken, intubate him, which what they explained to me was putting him under, clearing out his lungs so he can breathe and, get better. And that sounded perfectly logical to me at the time. However, they didn't tell me that intubation is life support. They didn't tell Ken or I that this was life support. So when I told Ken what they were doing, I just said, sweetie, they're going to put you under, clear out your lungs. You're going to feel so much better. Everything's fine, I promise. Well, that was the last time my husband and I spoke to each other. And which is it's so hard to believe, that it went. So I guess what I want, your listeners to know is that sepsis isn't like the common cold. You don't have until tomorrow to get better. Tomorrow, there's no tomorrow. If you get it and you're not treated or not given the proper medication, you will die. Your organs shut down very quickly. So this happened on a Thursday. We called Kaiser and spoke to Dr. Culbertson Wednesday. On Thursday, I took him into the emergency. He was on life support Thursday. Friday, the UCSF medical team, that was their last resort, was to call them in to connect him to an ECMO machine, which is this amazing machine. They brought like 15 people out from San Francisco to Marin County, where we were at the Kaiser in San Rafael, to get him stable, to take him, transfer him to San Francisco, because that is like one of the top hospitals in the country, if not the world. So the ECMO machine basically pumps the blood for your body so you can heal. Ken's organs were all shutting down. His arms and legs turned black. And I thought, well, that's just part of the disease. I thought it'll go away when he gets better, because I wasn't giving up hope on him, surviving. I brought a specialist in and they said, well, if he survives, we're going to have to amputate his arms and legs. And that was on Monday. And I just said, my husband was a professional athlete, lived to play golf, adored his children, loved me, loved his life. And I was never going to allow him to live with no arms and legs. I mean, he would have figured out a way to kill me if I had done that, bitten me or something. I don't know. But so anyway, I had to make a horrible decision with our children to take him off life support. And it was not, for our children to see their dad, deteriorate that fast in front of their eyes is unforgivable. My husband was my best friend in the entire world. We were always together. We did everything. I'm not saying our marriage was perfect, but it was great. I adored him. He loved me, and now I don't have my person, and so when after he passed, the Sepsis Alliance contacted me about, using Ken's likeness to raise awareness and if I would be willing to speak. And, I'm a makeup artist. I like being behind the camera. It's not my natural place to be in front of it. But I felt that, because of who Ken was, I wanted to honor him. I don't want anyone else to lose their person or their child or anyone because they weren't aware. So I'm trying, for the past 2 years, I've been trying to raise awareness for sepsis. And I would love to, make change in the medical system as well. I don't want doctors like Dr. John Culbertson to not prescribe, to not see their patients and then misdiagnose. And because there's going to be nothing but loss of life. And that's just unacceptable. There's no reason for that. The problem with a company like Kaiser is that part of their business plan is allotting for people dying because they give bonuses to their doctors for not seeing their patients. So the more, they give, a bonus for not seeing a patient. Well, because my husband wasn't seen, he died. Because he wasn't seen, he wasn't given the proper medication, the proper diagnosis, and the proper treatment. So, it's horrible. It really is.
Horrible. So, so much has happened to you and your family, and that is unforgivable. But I think that the inspiring part of that story is 2 years later, here you are still advocating, this CEO of your own company, still raising your children. So how did you kind of get through something like that? We didn't touch on it yet, but I mean, you had quite a bit going on. You lost a child, you lost your mother, you lost your husband, and And with all of that being said, you're still out there being an advocate, you're still running your own company. I mean, what gives one the wherewithal to kind of keep moving through that and doing what you're still doing?
I think my husband used to make jokes that I'm Stalin's granddaughter. I'm Russian.
The trick
I'm
is to be Russian.
exactly. It's enough being Russian, right? I feel that after my son passed away, I went into a very dark place. I was taking, sleeping pills just to numb the pain and function for about a month, which isn't that long. But for me, because I am incredibly disciplined, it is a long time for me to not be on my normal path of waking up and having a green juice and my supplements and going to yoga and running and doing all that I do and raising my children. So I realized, I think one of my girlfriends, who I refer to as my wives, said, you know what, enough's enough. Like, we know you're in pain, but you've got other kids that you need to raise. Like, get it together. And so I'm like, you're right. Enough is enough. So happiness is a choice. Grief is an interesting thing. Everyone deals with it differently. I choose now, how I've chosen, since I knew that after Ken passed that I couldn't go into that dark place, because I knew what it was like, and I knew it was even going to be worse. When my son passed away, I had my ex-husband at the time, so I had that. Well, now my person's gone, and I don't have that. So I knew that I really had to rely on my friends and family. I renewed my faith in God. I meditate. I was exercising like morning and afternoon, a yoga class, Pilates, or a hike or something, just to keep my head and body calm. Because that, I knew that if I didn't, it was going to not be a good, outcome for anyone. And, I have 4 other children that I need to raise. And the only thing that I can do, my words are not going to mean anything to them. I need to live the right example. I have to show them, like, okay, I'm waking up. Yes, I'm having hard times. And yes, I cry and I'm depressed sometimes, a lot, but I have to put positive energy out into the world. I know that my husband and my mom and my son and all my angels up in heaven are watching down on me. And I know that they're proud and that they help me through these hard times. And I personally, everyone grieves differently, as I mentioned, but I think wallowing one's grief is incredibly selfish. It's not doing anything for you, your family, or friends. And, I think happiness and joy and positivity are infectious. So if people see that you're trying, that they're, it just makes the world a better, positive cycle. And I really believe that. And I've told my kids, you don't get to be, be married to Ken Flach, or Ken Flach is your father, only when it's like getting tickets or passes to some VIP event. This is the time when you need to use his name to A, honor him, and B, use his name to help others, to help people not go through what we're going through. So that's how meditation, prayer, exercise.
Making a difference. I don't know.
It does make me feel good. I get calls and emails from people that tell me that they've seen an interview of mine, and they got their loved one to a hospital and saved their life. So I'm so grateful. Ken was unaware of how incredibly dangerous sepsis was. I had no idea he was septic. I thought he had bronchitis and pneumonia. Never did I think he wasn't going to survive. Never. Right. I didn't think anything could kill my husband. He was a big, strong man.
10 foot tall and bulletproof, right? And then not.
He was Superman in my eyes.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said, it really struck me, and we of course we prepared before the interview, was you said you talked a lot about your son, your youngest son, and you said how you've honored your husband's memory, but it sounds like you're kind of passing that along to your children as well. Do you want to share with us at all what your youngest son has just recently been able to do?
My youngest son is a twin. His name's Ben, and his twin is Bo, and he passed away on Christmas Day when he was 4.5 months old. And I started an educational fund at the Northern Lights School in Oakland to raise money for children that are underprivileged to have a private school experience. Their success rate is 98% to go on to college and get a degree. It's amazing. So I did that for Bo. And so while Ken was alive, we were involved with the school. And there was there's a bunch of athletes involved, around the Bay Area, the Giants, the 49ers, the Raiders, the A's, the Sharks. They have all donated their time and money to keep this school going because it's run on grants and donations. It doesn't get any funding from the government. So there's a golf tournament, a celebrity golf tournament every year in October. And Ben, for the last 4 years, my son Ben's an amazing golfer. He has gone on the fifth hole. It's a par 3, and raised money. It's called Beat the Kid. So people give him money, and then he hits the ball for them, and they can use it to go on. So Ben, every year has raised, $3,000, $5,000. But this past year, he raised $35,500.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And the magnitude of that is so huge because that $35,500 enables 3 children who would normally not be able to attend this private school to go to school for an entire year. So it changes, families, lives of the student, but it also is changing communities in the world by those 3 lives being changed in a positive way. So I'm so proud of my son. He's my hero. It makes me cry.
He's your different kind of person, right?
He's my different person. I always tell him, I said, you are the love of my life, the pick of the litter, mama good boy, and he's my angel. So
yeah, he's your littlest, or your littlest at home.
He is my
littlest. And so I have a littlest too, and I might say stuff like that about him too, but he still likes it.
He's like, Mom, really? Like, I'm 5'9" and bigger than you, and
I know,
hardly little, but in my mind,
my 14-year-old is 5'9" and I'm 5'7".
Wow.
Yeah, and she's a size 11 foot. And so I've always called her nanner, but I was like nanner nincompoop face, but I'm not allowed to call her that now. But her name is Ava, so I don't even know where that happened, but she's like, Mom, my friends.
Kids. Yeah, and they're horrified with, how we.
Yeah. I try to resist.
I know, it's so hard
though. I know, but she's still so cute.
I know.
She doesn't think so, but So I think that's amazing. But so in addition to all the things that you're doing, I think you're just recently taping a TV show, weren't you? Like filming a TV show in LA and running a company. How do you do all this stuff?
I'm disciplined. And I don't even think I get enough done in a day. I know that must sound incredibly crazy. So I was down in Los Angeles filming a TV series for Fox called with Isaiah Washington, who is my new favorite human. I love him. It's called Isaiah Washington Kitchen Talk. And so it's a really interesting concept of a talk show, but you know how everyone always congregates to the kitchen while one cooks. So it's a really great talk show of people, of he and a guest cooking and then sitting down and having conversation. And sometimes when you have the distraction of food or a glass of wine, you open up much more than if you're just sitting in front of a camera. It's stressful. Even if you're accustomed to being in front of the camera, you're not going to really open up quite as much as you would if you were eating and kind of distracted and acting like you're just having a conversation with your friend. So, and it's beautifully, they did a beautiful job with the food and the settings. And I think it's going to be a really great show. I'm really excited. It's going to be airing on Fox Nation end of April.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. How much fun. Do you ever get to take your children with you on your adventures?
You know what? Sometimes I used to more. My kids are pretty much grown. My daughter Melania lives in London. She's a fashion designer. My daughter Rose, she is in the TV industry. She went to NYU Film School, graduated with honors. Proud mom. And she is a writer on the reboot of Mad About You. So she just wrapped her first season with that, and she's got a bunch of other writing projects going on. And my son Nikolai is 19. He's a freshman in college. He plays golf. He wants to turn pro. And Ben is amazing. He's in 7th grade and plays basketball and golf. And he's super smart and does well in school. And
Sounds like you have a lot of blessings.
I
Right?
do. I have so many.
Well, do you want to tell us a little bit? We didn't even get to touch on it, so I don't want to like not have an opportunity, but you also are a celebrity makeup artist, CEO of your own makeup companies. So anything you'd like to share about your company that you run, in your spare time?
Yeah, when I have all that time. So I'm the CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. I started it, oh my gosh, in 1999, a long time ago.
We won't tell anyone.
Like actually, it was like 9 months ago. No,
Yeah, right.
so I started the company. All my products are made in the United States. They're natural. I wanted them to, I'm self-funded, so I, couldn't create like a billion-dollar, company. So I started with lip gloss and lip plumper, and I tested it on my friends who are all different, skin shades, because I wanted the colors to look good on everyone. And it's so great because my colors do look great on every skin tone, which I'm really proud of. It took much longer than I expected. I thought it was going to be like, a couple afternoons and we'd be in stores, but it took over a year to formulate the lip gloss and lip plumper and then get the correct colors. So it's been so much fun. I love it. Creating new products. I was inspired by Benefit Cosmetics, who I actually just did a campaign for, which funny enough, for some pore cream that they have that's fantastic. And I'm not curing cancer or sepsis. I'm a makeup artist. And if I can give another woman some joy and laughter with a lip gloss called Rich Husband or Pretty Girl Lunch or Day at the Spa, that's fantastic. Because, I'm a mom, you're a mom. It's exhausting being us doing 18,000 things and keeping our house clean and working out and making dinner and lunch and helping out. Like, it's a lot. And sometimes we need literally 10 seconds to just put on a little lip gloss, like look down at the name, laugh a second, and get on with our life.
And we all deserve to be pretty.
Yes. And pretty on the inside, not just pretty on the outside.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of part of my job as a makeup artist as well, is making people feel, I don't have a lot of time when someone gets into my makeup chair. I mean, sometimes I have a half hour, an hour, and sometimes I don't. So I have to figure out very quickly what that person needs to feel good to go in front of the camera. Do they want quiet? Do they want to talk? Do they want to talk to me? Do they want to hear me talk about something? So I've been really blessed. I get to be Oprah Winfrey when I get someone in my chair for a little bit. I get to interview them like you're interviewing me.
Yeah.
I've had Condoleezza Rice. I've had Metallica, Journey. I've had all these amazing athletes. Isaiah Washington. I've had a lot of Tyler Florence, Bobby Flay, Dana Perino, Tucker Carlson. I've had a lot of amazing, amazing people in my chair that I've gotten to have really intimate moments with and talk to them about their life, my life. And, that's one of the definite gifts with purchases of my job, is being able to have that one-on-one time with these extraordinary people that, I would never normally have.
Absolutely. So do you have any like parting words for our audience? There's so many things that you're doing, but just either any last minute advice or where they can find Pretty Girl Makeup or anything like that?
Okay, well, you can find Pretty Girl Makeup online at prettygirlmakeup.com. If you're interested in seeing any of my work, you can go to christinaflach.com. I'm represented by Artist Services in San Francisco, LA, and New York. So you can go to their website and see my work. I just wish everyone to be happy and loved in their life. And if anyone could take away anything from this, would be, wake up in the morning and decide to have a beautiful, happy, loving day. Love whoever it is in your life, your children, your person, whoever. wear sunscreen, drink water, you know.
All the good stuff. Do all the good things.
You know, meditate, pray. I don't know. Have balance in your life. I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know you're super busy. You're in LA and you're going to filming shows and putting makeup on all the beautiful people. But I really do appreciate you sharing your story with your husband, especially with the anniversary of his passing just coming up, and your wonderful son Ben and
My
all of.
husband, he is
I
amazing.
know he's amazing. So thank you so much, and I look forward to staying in touch.
I do too. Thank you so much.
Have a
Take
wonderful day.
you too.